Good morning, everyone. We're waiting for two more members. Hi, David. We'll be starting shortly. The Committee of Insurance and Financial Services shall come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please read the speaker's letter?
January 17, 2023. Mr. Rich Brown, Clerk, Michigan House of Representatives, State Capitol Building, Lansing, Michigan, 48913. Dear Clerk Brown, I appoint the following members of the 102nd Legislature to the standing committees for the 2023-2024 legislative session. Insurance and Financial Services. Reps Brenda Carter, Chair, Mike McFall, Vice Chair, Lori Stone, John Fitzgerald, Kevin Coleman, Kristen Grant, Stephanie Young, Julie Rogers, Helena Scott, Kelly Green, Mike Harris, Minority Vice Chair, Jerry Nayer, Bob Biscott, Rachel Smith, Joe Aragon, Gregory Markinen, and William Barak.
Madam Chair, will you please call the roll?
Sincerely,
Oh,
Joe
okay.
Tate, Speaker of the House. I was checking to see if I had all the members here.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Representatives, no, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair.
Yes, present.
Representatives McFall,
Present.
Bowl, Coleman,
Here.
Stone,
Here.
Green,
Present.
Rogers,
Here.
Scott,
Present.
Young,
Present.
Fitzgerald,
Present.
Grant,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Markinen, Bazat,
Present.
Aragona,
Aragona. Here.
Barak, he's on, present on the line.
He's on Zoom.
On Zoom.
Present.
Nayer,
Present remote.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 16 members present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. The Standing Committee on Insurance and Financial Services will follow Chapter 4 stated in the House Standing Rules that were adopted on the House floor by the House of Representatives on January 11th, 2023. We need a motion to adopt Thursday at 9 a.m. in room 521 in the House office building as the day, time, and location for the regularly scheduled meetings of the House Committee on Insurance and Financial Services. Yes, excuse me, Vice Chair.
I move, or so moved.
Yes, Representative Mike McFall moves to adopt the operating schedule for the House Committee on Insurance Financial Services. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Representatives McFall,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Markinen, Bazat,
Yes.
Aragona,
Yes.
Barak, Nair,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 15 affirmatives, no nays, and no passes.
Thank you. The schedule has been adopted. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from the Department of Insurance and Financial Services, or DIFS for short. Here from DIFS is Renee Campbell, DIFS the Senior Director, Deputy Director, and Director of DIFS Office of Consumer Services, Joseph Sullivan, Insurance Legislative Liaison at DIFS, and Ross Yednock, Financial Services Legislative Liaison at DIFS. Thank you all for DIFS for being here today. Would you like to begin your? Thank you for your presentation. There you go. So who'll be speaking first? So we will begin with. So we will be.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Thank you for having the department in today to give an overview of our functions. So we are from the Michigan Department of Insurance and Financial Services. DIFS has approximately 375 employees who work to regulate the state's insurance and financial services industries. We are fee-funded and do not require public tax dollars to operate. Our mission is to ensure access to safe and secure insurance and financial services fundamental for the opportunity, security, and success of Michigan residents while fostering economic growth and sustainability in both industries. So as previously stated, it is part of our department's core mission to provide consumer protection, outreach, and financial literacy and education services to Michigan residents. Every Michigan resident is impacted by the products that we regulate. We want to make sure that money is protected, handled correctly, and that the terms of contracts are followed. DIFS regulates insurance companies, state-chartered financial institutions, consumer finance entities, and we will get into a more detailed list later on in the presentation. So as for insurance regulation, you can see here we regulate insurance companies, HMOs, third-party administrators, dental insurers, nonprofit dental corporations, and entities called MIWAs. Ross?
Ross Yednock, the Financial Services Legislative Liaison, and these are the financial services regulations. As you can see, it's the state-chartered banks and state-chartered credit unions. In the consumer finance area, it's the debt management companies, mortgage companies, motor vehicle sales financing companies, and deferred presentment companies, also known as the payday lending. And these are some of the licensors, the producer agents, counselors, adjusters, solicitors, mortgage brokers, and lenders, and loan officers.
All right, and here is our regulatory authority. There are multiple state and federal statutes. In addition to the Michigan Insurance Code, we regulate using 17 other primary state statutes. Here is a list of those insurance statutes. There are also several dozen federal statutes that govern our operations. For example, on the health insurance side, HIPAA, COBRA, and ACA. Ross.
Yeah, and on the banking side, and in the interest of time, I won't go through all of them, but you've got the Banking Code, the Credit Union Act, and the list of consumer finance. And similar to what Sully said, most are the state acts we are under, but there's also some crossover with some federal.
All right. You might hear a bit about model laws. So the vast majority of how we regulate comes from the direction that we receive from you, the legislature. However, there are occasionally model laws that come to us from national groups like the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, also called NAIC, the Conference of State Bank Supervisors, CSBS, and the National Association of State Credit Union Supervisors, also called NASCUS, that Michigan has to adopt to meet national accreditation standards. However, for 2023, we do not anticipate any such model laws required for accreditation. So ultimately, everything that we do is aimed at protecting consumers. To broadly summarize, the purpose of the multiple statutes that govern our work, DIFS has to work to monitor the financial condition of risk-bearing entities. We work to ensure entities are in operational compliance with statutes, and we work to ensure that consumers are protected. So I will get into a brief history of DIFS. In the interest of time, I won't go through all the talking points for this slide, but this is just a bit of an overview of the timeline of how we became DIFS in 2013. We were made our own department via executive order, in large part due to our increased focus on the core topics of insurance and financial services. Prior to that, we broke off of what is now LARA. Renee?
Good morning. As previously mentioned, I oversee the Office of Consumer Services. And the Office of Consumer Services has three different sections or units. The first unit is, or the two first units in our consumer assistance section handle consumer complaints. And we have an insurance unit that handles property and casualty, life insurance, and health insurance complaints from Michigan consumers. And then we have a consumer finance complaint unit that handles complaints involving financial services entities. There's 16 complaint analysts in our two complaint units. And then we have our call center, which in our call center is something unique in state government. We have one of the few call centers that actually answers calls live. We have 8 call center representatives that answer calls Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. And we have 2 hotlines coming into our call center. One of those hotlines was created in 2020, and that related in 2020 from the new no-fault auto law. That hotline was created, and it's 833 Ask DIFS. In 2022, we were extremely busy. We answered over 125,000 calls through our call center. And in 2022, we responded to over 8,500 complaints in our 2 complaint units. And this slide just gives a breakdown of those complaints. You'll see a majority of the complaints were related to insurance. It was over 7,600 insurance complaints and just over or just under 900 consumer finance complaints. And you'll also see on there that we responded to over 3,600 written inquiries, and that could be emails, FOIA requests, things of that nature. And so we had quite a impressive year, at least I feel. I'm kind of biased. We recovered over $26 million for consumers in Michigan. And when I say recovered, that could be anywhere from recovering fees or overcharges on a bank or a credit union complaint. It could be getting a premium refund for a consumer on their insurance policy, or maybe a life insurance claim that was denied, and we assisted that consumer in getting the claim paid by their life insurance company. So those are just some examples there. And then this slide just gives you an idea of some of the assistance that we can and cannot provide. We want to assist consumers with complaints against entities that we do license and regulate. We also want to assist a consumer in understanding their policy language and statutes that might apply to the consumer. We cannot act as a court of law. We do not we cannot provide legal advice. And then we also do not have authority over Medicaid or unemployment insurance claims, unclaimed property claims, things of that nature. And then we're here, we want to make sure that your offices know that we're here to help you. Last year we took just under 800 inquiries from legislative offices, so we definitely want to see that number go up. We're here to help you. We want to assist you with your constituent inquiries, even if it's just answering a question for you, or if you want to forward your constituent concerns to our offices so we can open a complaint or answer their questions. And then this is just, it's kind of hard to see, but we have an online complaint portal that consumers can go straight to our website and file a complaint on our website, and it will come straight into our office. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for consumers, but this website here also has access to our paper complaint forms, because we know not all consumers want to go through that electronic portal. So they do have access to paper complaint forms if they want to mail it in, email it or fax it. some people some people still want to use those fax numbers. So.
All right, and now I will get into some of the specific functions of the offices within the department. So first up is the Office of Insurance, Financial, and Market Regulation. They are responsible for monitoring the financial condition of risk-bearing insurance entities. So they do things like processing of applications for licensure, performing on-site financial examinations, ongoing financial monitoring, working with insurers to correct negative trends, licensing, monitoring, and examining captive insurers, and they monitor and pursue any market conduct issues. So specific to market regulation, the functions are auditing insurance agencies and agents, monitoring surplus lines, tax filings, and payments, and they investigate complaints against persons and business entities regulated by DIFS. As for the Office of Insurance Licensing Investigations and Audits, they are responsible for licensing insurance entities that DIFS oversees. The office is also responsible for investigations of audits of insurance agents or entities and monitoring all surplus lines, tax filings, and payments. I won't get into these, but here is a list of licensees on the insurance side that we regulate. You can see the newest one there at the bottom is Pharmacy Benefit Managers, which will be effective in 2024. So as for the numbers, and this is accurate as of the start of the year, DIFS oversees just over 450,000 licensees. I will mention that we've seen a significant uptick in licensing activity, at least in part due to the pandemic. I think the thought process is that many people were able to evaluate their position with their career and ultimately decided that they'd be interested in making a career change. Just to put this back in perspective, so back in 2020, we only had around 367,000 licensees. So again, here's how that all breaks down. In the interest of time, I won't go through this, but that is all the different categories of licensees regulated by the department. On to the Office of Rates and Forms. They are responsible for enforcing Michigan insurance statutes and regulations pertaining to rates and forms submitted by insurance companies. So what they do is review for compliance with state and federal statutory requirements. And they have two areas of focus. Property and casualty, so think things like home and auto, and life and health, so of course life insurance and health insurance. So on the property and casualty side, here is a breakdown of both personal and commercial lines. I will mention that workers' compensation is listed here, but that is actually under the authority primarily of the Workers' Disability Compensation Agency under LEO. However, we do review forms, rules, and rating methodologies, but generally not complaints. On the life and health side, we regulate life insurance and annuities, health insurance, which includes the individual market, small and large group. So as for what we have a limited role in the review of, the office does review the certificate of coverage, service area, and provider network, provider contracts with the HMO, quality assessment improvement program, health professional credentialing, and the complaint and grievance procedure for those HMOs. However, we have no regulatory authority over Medicare, but review Medicare supplemental filings. Our involvement in reviewing Medicare Advantage is limited to service area, provider contracts, quality assessment and improvement program, and the complaint and grievance procedure. For Medicaid, we work with MD HHS to review coverage documents. They're submitted to us via SURF, the platform, and our team works with the assigned person at that department. And while we do have some regulatory authority over the administration of self-insured plans, we do not have the authority over the plan. Oversight of self-insured plans is done by the U.S. Department of Labor. These are typically things like employer plans. So as for the filings that were reviewed, this is a breakdown here. Office of Rates and Forms had for 2022. The total was 4,585. 37% of those were on the property and casualty side and 63% on the life and health side. So I will turn it over to Ross to give an overview of the financial services functions of the department.
Yeah, the Office of Banking is responsible for the regulation, examination, and supervision of Michigan State chartered banks. It's dedicated to maintaining public confidence in Michigan State chartered banks and ensuring Michigan State chartered banks provide safe, sound, and reliable financial services to Michigan consumers. The office supervises, regulates, and examines 74 state-chartered banks, consisting of 67 depository commercial banks and 7 non-depository trust banks, with banking assets greater than $44 billion. They also supervise and regulate and examine the 2 BIDCos in Michigan. Those are Business Industrial Development Corporations. The office collaborates with other state and federal agencies regarding bank supervision and examining activities, and they process corporate applications and requests for banking corporations, including branching, chartering, and banking power-related matters, and they provide the industry support through regulatory guidance, communication, and outreach. The next slide is the Office of Credit Unions, which, like the Office of Banking, is responsible for the regulation, examination, and supervision of Michigan State chartered credit unions. These are nonprofit cooperative financial institutions, and also the office is dedicated to maintaining public confidence and ensuring that credit union members are provided safe, sound, and reliable financial services. The office supervises and regulates and examines the 129 state-chartered credit unions with total banking assets greater than $80 billion. The office, and this was a previous slide, under the National Association of Credit Union Supervisors, our office gets regularly accredited, and it was reaccredited in November of 2020 for a 5-year period. The office, similar to the other office, performs ongoing financial monitoring, performs on-site examinations at state-chartered credit unions, monitors the safety and soundness of each institution, and works with institutions to remedy weaknesses or negative trends if they're identified, and to collaborate with other state and federal agencies regarding supervision. The Office of Consumer Finance is responsible for the supervision and oversight of entities and individuals doing business under Michigan's consumer finance statutes. The licensing authority for consumer finance rests with state regulators rather than the federal government. These licensees are almost exclusively non-depository financial institutions or entities. Funding for the office is provided through various fees paid by the different licensees. Consumer finance licensees include mortgage companies, loan officers, money transmission companies, motor vehicle sales financing, deferred presentment companies, also known as payday lending, and the regulatory activities include licensing, examinations, investigations of complaint and unlicensed activity, enforcement actions, and industry outreach. Licensed population has grown significantly in recent years in the mortgage and money transmission programs, and DIF works jointly with other state regulators across the country in the examination and supervision of national companies. Next slide. This is an overview of some of the different licensees, and this is as of last week. You've got Mortgage Broker Lenders and Servicing Licensing Act with 1,300. The secondary mortgage is up there, and the other ones, but again, won't go through all of that right now. That's right there on the slide. And here's the last third quarter of 2020. Brokers are not included in this, but the loan volume was $20 billion. The average loan amount was $206, and the total loans through that third quarter were $97,000. In deferred presentment, we had total volume of just over $1.2 million with $610 million, $500,000 million per advance in the payday loan area. And this is a new initiative by the department. One of the things the director and the department is very interested in is ensuring that all Michigan consumers have access to safe and secure transactional banking accounts. We know that unbanked population or individuals and households spend about $3,000 a year on various fees. That'd be check cashing, wiring fees, things like that. About 6% of the population is unbanked. However, in some communities like Detroit, it's 1 in 5 households have no relationship with a banking bank or credit union. So one of the things we have done is we are the statewide entity partnering with the Cities for Financial Empowerment on the banking access effort called Bank On. We work with Bank On Detroit, Bank On Lansing, and other entities across the state to make sure that low cost or no cost safe accounts are available for all Michigan residents.
All right, next I will get into a discussion about the DIFS Fraud Investigation Unit, which was established as part of the auto no fault reform, but before that was an administrative unit within the department. So they are responsible for investigations of all persons, including but not limited to persons subjected to the department's regulatory authority, consumers, insured, and other persons allegedly engaged in criminal and fraudulent activities in the insurance market. They coordinate their investigative activities with other law enforcement agencies at the local, state, and federal levels. They conduct outreach efforts with local and state law enforcement and regulatory agencies to promote investigation and prosecution of criminal and fraudulent activities in the insurance and financial services market. Since summer of 2019, they've been building out their team. The FIU and staff investigates reports of suspected insurance and financial fraud, some of which can be complex and involve multiple parties. The unit reviews suspected fraud complaints and investigates to determine whether sufficient evidence exists to move forward with prosecution. So here is the Insurance Fraud Task Force in 2020. This was officially formed by an MOU between DIFS, State Police, and the Attorney General. The goal of the task force is to promote coordination and cooperation between the 3 member agencies in the investigation and prosecution of insurance fraud in the state of Michigan. So I'll just flag briefly that complaints of suspected fraud can be submitted to the FIU through our dedicated online complaint portal. The web address is here on the slide. So now I will talk a little bit about innovation, talent, and economy. DIFS is committed to partnering with our regulated industries to grow Michigan's insurance and financial services economy and to attract talent. In the insurance industry, a recent report stated that there are more than 140,000 Michigan residents directly and indirectly employed by the insurance industry, earning a compensation of more than $9 billion. So Michigan banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions are large employers and play a crucial role in the economy. And as stated previously, one cannot start a family or open a business without considering insurance and financial services products. And the insurance and financial services industries are rapidly innovating, whether that's with cryptocurrency, blockchain, artificial intelligence, telemetrics, or chatbots, for example. There's a constant evolution taking place. Michigan must remain on the forefront of that. For that reason, we've committed resources to helping innovate companies navigate the regulatory world while also ensuring that products are thoroughly reviewed and ensure that consumers are protected. I will talk a bit about some of the COVID-19 consumer relief that DIFS did. This was all during the pandemic, of course. We secured agreements from more than 92% of the commercial health insurance market to provide coverage for COVID testing and treatment with no out-of-pocket costs for consumers during the public health emergency. We set up a dedicated webpage to show consumers how to get COVID test reimbursement from their insurers. We implemented refunds for health, dental, auto, and property and casualty insurance due to underutilization during the pandemic, resulting in at least $102 million in refunds and premium credits to consumers and businesses. We supported banks and credit unions as they provided more than $16 billion in forgivable Paycheck Protection Program loans to more than 110,000 of Michigan small businesses, and we secured agreements from more than 230 banks and credit unions to create the My Mortgage Relief Program to assist financially impacted homeowners by delaying foreclosures and offering payment delay arrangements. Okay, and now I will talk a bit about the recent auto insurance reform. As you know, in 2019, bipartisan auto no-fault legislation was enacted. I'm just going to give an overview of the changes of the law, some of the work that DIFS has been doing in that space, and some of the resources that we provide as a department. So implementation and education. So DIFS worked with actuaries to review and improve personal and commercial auto filings related to the law change. We raised awareness through extensive earned media campaign, including numerous interviews. We created a new webpage with specific resources like legislator toolkits and FAQs for both consumers and industry. As of today, there are 60 new companies or affiliates that have received authorization to enter Michigan's auto insurance market since the enactment of the reform. However, it's important to clarify that after companies receive this authorization to enter the market, they still must go through our process. So they have to receive approval on rates and forms before they can begin selling any policies. So as for the key changes, first, I should go over the three basic parts of an auto insurance policy that are mandatory. So the first is property protection insurance, also called PPI, which pays up to $1 million for damage your vehicle does in Michigan to other people's property, like buildings, fences, and other properly parked vehicles. There's also personal injury protection and medical coverage called PIP. PIP pays all reasonable and necessary medical expenses for your lifetime if you're hurt in an auto accident, and wage loss and replacement services for up to 3 years after the date of an accident. And lastly, residual liability, bodily injury, and property damage, BIPD, which pays up to the limits of the policy your defense costs and any damages you are found liable for as the result of an auto accident in which someone was killed or seriously injured. So the slide right here details some of the big changes and goals that the new law makes in the way of how auto insurance works in Michigan. So it aimed to provide drivers with a choice on the level of PIP medical coverage. It aimed to lower costs while maintaining still the highest benefits in the nation and to increase various consumer protections. So in the interest of time, I don't think I'll go through each of these, but as stated, consumers are now given the choice. Previously, they had to select unlimited PIP. Now there are various different levels of PIP that drivers can select. It is important to note that if Michigan drivers don't make a choice on which PIP option they want, they will default to receiving unlimited PIP medical coverage and will pay the premium that is associated with that specific option. So here were the mandatory rate reductions that were in the law. Each insurance company is required for an 8-year period post-implementation to reduce statewide average PIP medical premiums. I should clarify that this only applies to the PIP portion of your policy, so it would not apply for things like the collision coverage that you have in your policy. So for the unlimited option, it was an average of 10% reduction, 500 PIP option, 20%, 250 it was 35, and for 50K it was a 45% reduction. So there were other cost reduction methods that were part of the reform. The first one, which many of you know, was the fee schedule. So the law set a schedule of fees that can be charged by providers for PIP medical. The provision took effect after July 1st of 2021. Currently, there is a case before the Michigan Supreme Court reviewing this exact topic. The department is monitoring that case very closely. We issued a clarifying bulletin on this after the appeals court decision, which clarified how we expect reimbursement to work. There's also the MCCA assessment. So the MCCA is an association of auto insurers required by statute that reimburse member companies for PIP medical costs exceeding an identified amount, $600,000, in the event of a catastrophic event. Drivers choosing less than unlimited PIP medical do not pay the assessment to the MCCA. The per vehicle fee is now $86, which is up from an all-time high of $220 before the reform. We also have utilization review that was part of the reform, which is where medical care provided to auto accident victims must meet requirements for medical appropriateness. Auto insurers must establish utilization review program to make the determination, which can be appealed by health care providers to the DIFS utilization review section. So essentially there's two processes. There's the utilization review process on the insurer side, and then the DIFS utilization review process, which essentially acts as an appeals. So as for some of the increased consumer protections in the law, the first is that it eliminates certain non-driving factors. So the new law prohibits auto insurance companies from using sex, marital status, home ownership, credit score, education level, occupation, or zip code in setting auto insurance rates. It created the fraud investigation unit, which we previously detailed. Auto insurance fraud drives up premiums for all drivers. It required prior approval. So auto insurance rates and policies must now be filed with and approved by DIFS prior to being offered to consumers. And it also increased fines and penalties. So the reform allowed for increased fines on insurance companies, agencies, and licensed agents for certain violations of the law. Renee?
As a result of the no-fault law, we created a designated website for consumers that they can go to. It's highlighted here on the screen, michigan.gov/auto insurance. It's been popular amongst consumers and industry. There's a way for consumers that they can look for shopping tips when they're shopping for auto insurance. We update the site regularly when there's changes in the law. If you're having issues with your auto insurance company or your agency, you can go and look for tips here on the website. One of the most popular things on the auto insurance website are FAQs that we update regularly, and that's been extremely popular with consumers, agents, and legislative inquiries that we receive as well. We frequently refer to the FAQs. We also created a designated email box for consumer inquiries that we've put on the website as well as publications that we've sent out. It's autoinsurance@michigan.gov. We man that box every day. We respond every day, or at least within 24 hours to inquiries that we receive to that box. And then, as I mentioned previously, as a result, in the changes to the legislation, we created a toll-free number that's dedicated to auto insurance questions, and that's 833-ASK-DIFS. We also have a separate box I'll just mention here briefly. It's not on the screen, that is dedicated to questions that we get from industry, insurance companies and agents that will answer questions that's related to changes in the law.
Madam Chair, how are we doing on time? I'm going to get to the health insurance portion, but
Thank you for asking.
yeah.
We were going to invite you back to answer questions from our members. We have time to take one or two questions right now, but we are really within that window the next 4 minutes. Oh, okay. Okay, right here. Okay. You want to finish that section then?
We
You have
only
one
about,
more section, or would you
5 more
like to come?
slides, so
Okay, we have 4 minutes.
4 minutes. All right, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
All right, so healthcare access and coverage. So we worked with the Biden administration to extend the enhanced ACA plan subsidies. DIFS has been doing a lot of outreach and consumer support on that. We're working on efforts to increase health insurance enrollment. Michigan just set a record of 320,000 enrollees in the individual market. State-based exchange is a big thing that the department is working on, so essentially transitioning Michigan off of the federal marketplace healthcare.gov to run a state-run entity to maximize nimbleness, savings, and flexibility. I think you've all heard a lot about some of the insulin initiatives that are coming down the pipeline. So Michigan is looking to partner potentially in producing insulin in an attempt to drive down the cost of this crucial medicine. We're coordinating with other state departments in this effort, so our focus primarily right now is on the insurance component of that and how that intersects with the insurers in our state. The big thing I will flag, though, is Medicaid redetermination. So the public health emergency is ending in May, and there will be a wave of Medicaid redeterminations that are needed. Right now, we're coordinating with DHHS on how Medicaid and commercial plans intersect. That involves a lot of outreach efforts. Consumers must update their contact information and then fill out their renewal forms. Some may be actually eligible for Medicaid, but rather eligible for marketplace plan with subsidies to make them low cost, as little as around $10 a month. So I won't get into this, but this is another resource that DIFS provides called PRIRA. It's responsible. DIFS is responsible for regulating the Patient's Rights to Independent Review Act. This act provides the review of certain health care coverage adverse determinations made by health insurers. If a consumer does not agree with the health insurer's final adverse determination, they have 127 days to file an external review under PRIRA. For example, if a consumer receives a service or a prescription drug that their insurer denies, they can then use this process through DIFS. It's especially impactful in emergency cases through the expedited external review. So this one, I'll be really brief on this. So surprise medical billing. This was a big issue that came up a couple years ago. In 2020, there was bipartisan legislation to address this. The law requires providers to inform consumers of the possibility of a balanced billing using a disclosure form sent at least 14 days before a scheduled medical service. The form must explain that the consumer's insurance company may not cover all services and that the patients would be personally responsible for any uncovered costs. As part of the notice, patients must also be given a good faith estimate of the total cost of the care they'll receive, enabling them to budget for these expenses in advance or choose alternative care to meet their needs. Michigan Surprise medical billing law applies to insurers that are regulated by DIFs, including plans purchased on the health insurance marketplace. We did just update a new consumer guide on this topic, and it is available on our website. Pharmacy benefit manager, licensure and regulation, an incredibly complicated topic, so I don't know how deep I can get into this, but it is essentially a key cog of the, invite me back, okay.
We're going to have you come back because we were not in control of shortening your presentation, but clearly everything you're talking about, especially what's going to happen with Medicare and Medicaid April 1st, is of utmost importance to everybody on this committee. So we'd like to invite you back. I'd like to thank you, first of all. I'm sitting here saying, okay, I understand that, what you did, because I'm in the process of getting that producer's license. But the whole thing of it is you're a valued asset to this committee, and our next meeting is in 2 weeks. We would love for you to come back and not be rushed and answer questions from our committee, because we have quite a few people who want to ask questions, but we have to be somewhere at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So
Okay, so we need a motion to excuse.
right now, I'd like to get a motion to excuse Rep. Markinen. Will you make that motion? Okay. It's been moved by Representative Harris to excuse Representative Markinen. And say, hearing no objection, are there any objections? Hearing none, he's excused. There you go. So now we're going to, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting, correct? Do I have a motion? Yes. Oh, Rep. Coleman moves to adjourn the meeting. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we're adjourned. And once again, thank you for your presentation. See you in 2 weeks.